Welcome. I'm so grateful that you have tuned in for an episode of the Margin Max Minute. My name is Paul Ayers and I'm the Fit Professional One. Over time in the Margin Max Minute, my weekly message to you on Thursdays, I will be sharing tips, practices, and principles to maximize your margins, optimize your teams, and rescue your time. I think through this process, I will be able to deliver to you a particular item that is immediately worth implementing in your life to get the results you're after. I hope that you'll enjoy this particular week's version of the Margin Max Minute. And please, if you'd like to contact me, just go on my website, www.thefitprofessionalone.com. You can also just email me at paul@thefitprofessionalone.com. There's other aspects out there that you can sign up for, including my quarterly resource letter, which I'll be talking more about in the future, and my podcast series, which is targeted to be a bi-weekly series. And I'm really excited at some of the guests and some of the subjects I think you'll find extremely useful, and also ability for you to implement directly to get the results you're after to accelerate your success. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you will enjoy this particular episode of the Margin Max Minute. Let's get to work. Welcome back to another episode of the Margin Max Minute. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. Please, if you would, remember to forward this to your friends. They might get some value out of it too. My commitment to you is to continue to get you actionable ideas that you can use immediately. Today, I want to talk about recovery. When we are out working our butts off, we get worn out. We get cognitive load, we get spiritual load, we get physical load, which all wears us out, makes us in need of more recovery. The first thing to consider is the amount of push that you're doing. It's very important not to go so hard all the time that you just can't sustain that pace. So part of it is trial and error. You want to work hard and push your goals along, but you want to find a pace that's sustainable, your personal best in a marathon or a bike race, or just generally trying to exercise hard. Be sure to account for that cognitive load and recover adequately from it. The next issue that hits us as human beings that's often difficult to decipher is the external stressors on our lives. There can be so many things going on that hits us that we're not even aware of. It can raise our anxiety levels and can make it just difficult to get through the day. When we combine this with the rest of what we're doing, we often need more recovery than we might think. Again, this is a bit of a trial and error process. You're going to have to pay attention to it and add the right amount of recovery and the frequency of recovery so you can account for all of these stressors. They tend to accumulate on top of each other, and we need to account for those. Of course, then we have the physical load next. When we're working very hard, maybe we're moving and traveling for our work. Traveling, especially as you age, gets more difficult with each decade. So what you need to do is just work as hard as you can to recover from that. The other issue is when we're working very hard at something like a hobby that has a physical nature to it, or sports. We're a weekend athlete, we have a bike race coming up that we might be training for. Again, it becomes pretty obvious. That's the one we generally understand that we have to recover from. But again, remember these other stressors previously mentioned accumulate, need to be accounted for in mass. There's another issue I've learned over time is that the timeliness of when you actually choose to recover is very important to chase that proper amount of push that's at a high level but still sustainable. What I've discovered sometimes with my physical performance in terms of training on my bike, for instance, or weightlifting, when combined with work, travel, and the other stressors, if I can fit in even a 20-minute nap, even if I don't fall asleep, laying down, focusing on my breathing, just completely trying to relax, really seems to have a huge positive impact. On those occasional days, maybe weekend days, where I can fit in an hour nap, it really sets you up for success for the rest of your weekend. And I think has something magical to it. So if you can, consider the timeliness of rest and try to get your recovery as close to the action as you can. For instance, a lot of busy professionals will say, well, on Sunday, I'm going to relax and it's only Tuesday. It's really important to gauge that during the week to make sure that you're keeping pace and letting your body recover in those mini cycles of activity and effort, which tend to be just a day long. And lastly, it's really important to get back at it. We have to recover, but we don't want to recover too long. We have goals, we have ambitions, we have things we just want to accomplish. It's very important to be able to come out of recovery and get back at a sustainable pace, not too low of a pace, but a sustainable pace. And often when you get back at it, that can feel hard to do because of maybe some fatigue that's carried over, maybe the long duration of whatever you're chasing to do can kind of get in your head, but it's important to make sure that you're going to sustain your effort. It's very important to have purpose behind what you're trying to do. We'll cover that in another Margin Max Minute. With that, I'm glad that you listened. I hope that this can be actionable. You can get right at improving your recovery today and certainly this week. So I wish you the very best. I'm grateful that you've joined me. Let's get to work.